The bitter Siberian wind howled across the taiga as Captain Dmitry Volkov's snow-camouflage team approached the crash site. Twisted metal gleamed under the aurora borealis, steam rising where hot components met snow. The spacecraft, and there was no doubt it was a spacecraft, had carved a kilometer-long trench through the forest before coming to rest against a granite outcropping. Movement in the wreckage. Lieutenant Svetlana whispered through their tactical channel. Her rifle tracked a shimmer in the air near what appeared to be a damaged airlock. Some kind of distortion. Dmitry raised his fist, halting the 12-person Spetsnaz team. They'd been the closest unit when the object broke through the atmosphere, trailing plasma and debris across 3 oblasts. Now, lying prone in the snow, he watched as that shimmer solidified into a tall, spindly figure in what appeared to be a sophisticated environment suit. The alien, and there was no other word for it, stumbled in the deep snow. Its movements were awkward, almost uncoordinated, like someone who had never dealt with real gravity before. Behind it, 2 more figures emerged, each moving with the same uncertain gait. "Command, are you seeing this?" Dmitry subvocalized into his throat mic. "Affirmative, Captain. Maintain observation unless they show hostile intent. First contact protocols are now in effect." The lead alien fell, its long limbs sinking into a snowdrift. Its companions seemed unable to help, their own balance too precarious in the harsh conditions. The fallen figure emitted a series of high-pitched sounds that cut through the wind, clearly distress calls. Dmitry made his decision. Move in, help them up. Careful approach, weapons lowered but ready. His team emerged from their concealed positions, snow camo making them look like ghosts materializing from the landscape. The aliens froze, then began gesturing frantically with their upper limbs. One pulled out a device that glowed with internal light. "Easy," Dmitry called out, keeping his voice calm despite knowing they probably couldn't understand. He slung his rifle and raised his hands, approaching the fallen alien. Up close, he could see their environment suits were made of some kind of translucent material that shifted colors like oil on water. Through the faceplate, large eyes widened in what he interpreted as fear. Dmitry reached down and physically lifted the alien to its feet. The creature was surprisingly light, its frame spindly beneath the suit. The alien emitted more high-pitched sounds, but these seemed different, shocked, almost offended. The one with the glowing device began broadcasting a signal. Within seconds, the aurora above them intensified. Dmitry's tactical display lit up with warnings as massive objects began decelerating in high orbit. "Colonel," Svetlana called out, her voice tense. "We're picking up multiple craft entering atmosphere. Biggest one is, sir, it's the size of Moscow." The aliens were now backing away from the humans, their movements conveying what could only be described as disgust. The one Dmitry had helped up was frantically brushing at its suit where he touched it. A new sound filled the air, a deep resonant tone that made Dmitry's bones vibrate. A beam of light shot down from the clouds, and a new figure materialized. This one wore more elaborate armor, its environment suit decorated with what had to be military insignia. The newcomer looked at the crash survivors, then at the humans. When it spoke, its words were somehow translated into Russian, broadcasting directly into their tactical comms. "So, these are the primitives who still rely on their physical forms as weapons, who dare to touch our sacred persons with their bare hands, who think they can survive without the embrace of technology." The alien commander's tone carried centuries of assumed superiority. "I am High Marshal Vexthor of the Zexathraxian Empire. Your species has committed its first and last offense against us. The cleansing begins now." Above them, the sky filled with warships. Officer Sarah Chen crouched behind an overturned taxi on 42nd Street, watching an alien patrol glide past on their gravity platforms. Their energy shields glimmered in the morning light, casting prismatic reflections across the glass-strewn pavement. Behind her, Miguel Santos, retired MMA heavyweight champion, turned civilian defense volunteer, breathed slowly, waiting. "Remember," Sarah whispered, "their shields have a point-blank feedback loop. You've got to be inside 6 inches for physical contact to work." Her SWAT team had learned it the hard way in the first hour of the invasion, losing good people to the energy backlash before figuring out the sweet spot. Miguel nodded, his cauliflower ears and scarred eyebrows telling stories of countless fights, like clinching in the octagon. Get past their range. Make it dirty. The patrol was almost level with them now. 3 Zexathraxians, each nearly 7 feet tall in their environmental suits, but thin as reeds. They moved with the uncertain grace of creatures unused to actual gravity, relying on their platforms for stability. Their energy weapons swept back and forth, but their motion was predictable, too predictable. Sarah keyed her radio. Now, from windows above, NYPD snipers opened fire. The bullets splashed harmlessly against the alien shields, but that wasn't the point. The Zexathraxians turned their weapons upward, focusing on the visible threat. They never saw Sarah and Miguel sprint from behind the taxi. Miguel reached the first alien before their shields could fully react. He slipped inside the 6-inch danger zone like he was closing for a clinch, grabbed the environmental suit, and executed a perfect hip throw. The alien's shield flared and died as its wearer hit the pavement with a crack of breaking bones. Sarah tackled the second one as its platform destabilized. The alien's weapon discharged wildly, burning holes in surrounding buildings, but its physical strength was no match for her SWAT training. She struck pressure points through the suit that human anatomy suggested might be universal, and the alien went limp. The third Zexathraxian tried to retreat, abandoning its companions. Miguel wasn't having it. He sprinted 3 steps up a wall, a move that had won him his championship belt, and launched himself at the alien's back. They both crashed to the ground, the alien's shield shorting out on impact. One precise strike to what passed for its temple, and the fight was over. "Command, this is Chen," Sarah radioed, zip-tying the unconscious aliens. Another patrol down. Sane weaknesses confirmed. They really don't know how to handle physical combat. Her radio crackled. "Confirmed, Chen. Be advised, we're seeing similar results across the city. They're falling back from any sector where we force close combat. Manhattan South is nearly clear, but something big is happening." The ground trembled. Sarah looked up to see a massive ship descending through the clouds, its hull bristling with weapons. High Marshal Vex Thor's voice boomed across the city. "Impossible. Our scouts report hand-to-hand combat. Primitive physical violence. You dare to touch the chosen ones of the Zexathraxian Empire with your bare hands. This barbarism cannot stand." Miguel helped Sarah drag the captives into a nearby subway entrance, their designated collection point. Underground, a makeshift command center had been established. On monitors, they watched as similar scenes played out across the city. A construction worker taking down an alien with a sledgehammer, a grandmother trapping one in a judo hold, a teenage parkour enthusiast leading a whole squad into an ambush. Someone had started live streaming the victories. The video of Miguel's takedown was already going viral, broadcasting across both human and alien networks. On one screen, they could see alien ships starting to retreat from the city's airspace, their formations chaotic. "They're running," Miguel said, cracking his knuckles. "All that technology, and they can't handle a little close-quarters combat." Sarah checked her ammunition. "They'll be back. With something bigger, but now they know. You can't conquer Earth without getting your hands dirty." Above them, the sounds of battle began to fade, replaced by cheering in the streets of New York. The first round had gone to humanity, and the Zexathraxians had learned their first lesson about underestimating Earth's warriors. Dr. Helen Martinez stared through the observation window at their captive, a Zexathraxian commander captured during the New York retreat. The alien sat awkwardly in a reinforced chair, its environmental suit removed after they'd adjusted the room's atmosphere to match their ship's specifications. Without the imposing armor, the truth was shocking. Look at the bone density scans, she told the assembled military leaders. Their skeletal structure has maybe 1/5 the density of ours. Generations of living in low-gravity environments have left them physically fragile. And that's just the beginning. She flicked through holographic displays showing detailed biological scans. General Thompson leaned forward, his weathered face creased in concentration. 20 years of Special Forces operations hadn't prepared him for this kind of enemy. Their muscle mass is negligible, Helen continued. They've genetically engineered themselves for increased brain capacity and sensory perception, but at a terrible physical cost. Their bodies are essentially atrophied. Even a child could overpower one in direct combat, which explains their reliance on environmental suits and energy shields, Thompson mused. They're not just being arrogant. They literally cannot survive without technological assistance. The captured commander shifted in its chair, long fingers tapping in what their xenobiologists had identified as a stress response. Through the two-way mirror, they could see the subtle tremors in its limbs, muscles straining against Earth's gravity despite the room's environmental controls. A junior analyst burst into the room, tablet in hand. "Sir, we've decoded more of their tactical databases. You need to see this." The room's main screen filled with alien combat footage from their previous conquests. Battle after battle, all fought ship to ship or with remote drones. No ground combat. No physical engagement of any kind. They haven't engaged in actual combat in over 1,000 years, the analyst explained. Their entire military doctrine is based on technological superiority and standoff warfare. There's no concept of close-quarters battle in their entire tactical library. Helen pulled up her final set of scans. Their brains show signs of extreme modification. Enhanced cognitive abilities, yes, but they've literally engineered out their aggressive instincts. Their fight-or-flight response is almost entirely flight. That's why they retreated in New York, Thompson realized. It wasn't just tactical surprise. They were experiencing fear at a genetic level. Their enhanced minds were overwhelmed by stimulus they've evolved to avoid. The captured commander suddenly stood, its fragile frame swaying. When it spoke through the translation system, its voice trembled. "You don't understand what you are, what you represent." The alien's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Your species still carries the mark of evolution. The capacity for violence written into every cell. We thought we had transcended such things, become greater than our base origins." Helen watched as the commander's vital signs typed on her monitors. "Your children learn to fight before they can fully speak. Your bodies maintain the ability to kill despite millennia of civilization. You are not just primitive. You are a living reminder of everything we sought to escape." General Thompson stepped closer to the window. "And that's what terrifies you, isn't it? We can bridge both worlds. Use technology and still fight with our hands. Adapt your weapons but keep our warrior spirit." The commander sank back into its chair. "Our tactical computers cannot predict you. You make choices that defy logic, take risks no rational being would consider. You willingly endure pain to achieve victory. How can we fight an enemy who does not fear death?" Helen shared a look with Thompson. In the commander's words, they heard not just fear, but a growing realization. Humanity's greatest weakness, their connection to their evolutionary past, was proving to be their greatest strength. "Send word to all commands," Thompson ordered. "We found their weakness. The Zikathraxians aren't just unfamiliar with physical combat. They're psychologically incapable of adapting to it. We press this advantage. It's time to show them what real warriors can do." Behind him, on the tactical display, more alien ships appeared in orbit. The next phase of the war was about to begin. But now, humanity knew exactly what they were fighting. The Brisbane construction yard looked like a scene from a fever dream. Jack Cooper, site foreman turned resistance fighter, watched his crew make final adjustments to their modified equipment. What had started as desperate improvisation had evolved into something that would change the course of the war. "Tower cranes ready," Emma Wong called out, her hands covered in grease and alien technology salvaged from crashed ships. Electromagnetic pulse generator mounted and calibrated. One swing of that hook, and their shields won't know what hit them. Jack nodded, checking the concrete pump truck they'd turned into a makeshift artillery piece. The alien shield technology had one critical flaw. It was calibrated to stop high-velocity projectiles and energy weapons. But something slow, heavy, and corrosive. That was a different story entirely. "They're coming," crackled the warning over their cobbled-together radio network. Massive force, approaching from the harbor. The sky darkened as alien ships appeared over the water. Their sleek forms bristled with energy weapons, shields shimming in the Australian sun. Ground forces followed, floating on their gravity platforms in perfect formation. The sight would have been terrifying a week ago. Now Jack just saw opportunities. "Remember," he called out to his crew, "they think this is just another construction site. Let them get nice and close." The alien forces advanced with mechanical precision. Their tactical computers had identified the construction yard as a strategic position, but classified the equipment as harmless industrial machinery. That assumption was about to cost them dearly. "Now," Jack roared. Emma swung the tower crane with practiced precision. The hook, now housing a jerry-rigged EMP device, passed through the aliens' formation. Shields flickered and died. Gravity platforms failed. Dozens of Zexthraxians fell, their fragile bodies unprepared for even a short drop. Before they could recover, the concrete pump trucks opened up. High-pressure streams of quick-setting concrete, laced with corrosive compounds salvaged from their own chemical weapons, struck the aliens' environmental suits. The material hardened instantly, trapping them in cocoons of their own arrogance. "Mining equipment, go," Jack commanded. Modified excavators rolled forward, their buckets replaced with makeshift rams built from scavenged alien hull material. They slammed into the surviving forces like ancient siege engines. The aliens, used to fighting at range with energy weapons, had no defense against simple kinetic impacts. The response was chaos. Alien commanders tried to coordinate a retreat, but their tactical computers kept crashing, unable to process the sight of construction equipment being used as weapons. Their entire combat doctrine was based on the assumption that industrial machinery was non-military in nature. "They're trying to regroup," Emma shouted, swinging another EMP-loaded crane hook through a formation attempting to establish a defensive line. "Hit them with the rollers." Road rollers, their drums now studded with alien metal, advanced like slow-motion tanks. The Zexthraxians fired desperately, their energy weapons splashing harmlessly off the reinforced vehicles. Where the rollers passed, nothing remained standing. Above, the alien ships struggled to target the construction equipment. Their targeting systems, designed to lock onto weapons and military vehicles, couldn't properly track machinery their databases classified as civilian infrastructure. Each attempt to acquire a lock ended in confusion, as their computers insisted the threats didn't exist. "Command, this is Brisbane Construction Site Alpha," Jack radioed, watching another group of aliens retreat in disarray. "Strategy confirmed successful. They literally cannot comprehend using civilian equipment as weapons. Their tactical systems are breaking down trying to process it." The response came from military command. "Confirmed, Cooper. Similar reports coming in worldwide. Construction sites in Tokyo, Dubai, and Toronto all reporting successful engagements. Stand by for reinforcement. Military forces are moving to exploit the breaches you've created." Jack watched as the alien fleet began a haphazard withdrawal from Brisbane's airspace. On his tablet, he could see similar scenes playing out across the globe. Humanity had found another edge: the ability to turn anything into a weapon, to see military potential in civilian tools. "Send word to all construction sites," he ordered. "If they want to take Earth, they'll have to learn that humans can weaponize anything." And we're just getting started. The Hindu Kush Mountains loomed against the Afghan sky, their peaks shrouded in clouds and mystery. Major Aisha Khan of the Pakistani Special Forces adjusted her night vision goggles, watching the alien patrol stumble through the narrow valley below. Their environmental suits, designed for spacecraft and urban warfare, struggled with the harsh mountain terrain. Beside her, Abdul Rahman, a local shepherd turned resistance fighter, smiled grimly. "These mountains have swallowed empires for thousands of years," he whispered. "They thought their technology would make a difference." Aisha keyed her radio, speaking softly in a mix of Pashto and English that had become the common language of the mountain campaign. "All units, targets entering killing zone. Remember, let them get deep into the valley. No premature engagement." The aliens had chosen the Hindu Kush as their primary forward operating base, believing the mountains would block Earth's surveillance systems. They hadn't counted on generations of knowledge passed down through families who had lived in these peaks since before recorded history. Abdul pointed to subtle signs in the landscape: displaced rocks, slight variations in the snow pattern. Their heavy equipment damaged the hidden paths. They don't understand that every stone here has meaning. The alien patrol reached the center of the valley. Their scanners, calibrated for detecting energy weapons and modern military equipment, missed the ancient stone bunkers built into the mountainsides. They never saw the fighters hiding in caves that had sheltered warriors since Alexander's time. "Now," Aisha commanded. The mountain itself seemed to come alive. Fighters emerged from hidden positions the alien sensors had dismissed as natural formations. Others appeared from behind rocks their tactical computers had classified as too small to conceal humans. The Zexathraxians found themselves surrounded by warriors who had learned mountain warfare from their great-grandparents. "Their suits can't handle the altitude," Aisha observed as the aliens struggled to respond. At over 14,000 feet, the thin air and treacherous terrain were as much enemies as the human fighters. They relied too much on their technology. They never learned to read the mountain. The aliens attempted to call for reinforcements, but the valley's natural geology blocked their communications, a fact known to every child who had grown up in these peaks. When they tried to retreat to higher ground, they found the paths they'd logged in their computers had vanished, erased by small avalanches triggered hours earlier. Abdul's fighters moved with the confidence of those born to the mountains, using routes that appeared on no map. They struck from impossible angles, disappeared into the landscape, then appeared again where no sensor said they could be. The aliens' tactical doctrine, based on open terrain and technological superiority, crumbled in the face of warfare older than their civilization. "Command, this is Major Khan," Aisha reported. "Division 7 has lost all cohesion. They're completely disoriented. The mountain has them." Through her goggles, she watched the alien force fragment. Some tried to stand and fight, their energy weapons useless against enemies they couldn't properly target. Others attempted to flee, only to find themselves channeled into killing zones by the very geography they had dismissed as primitive. High Marshal Vex Thor's voice crackled over their captured communications. "Impossible. Our scanners show no significant forces in your area. There cannot be this many warriors in such inhospitable terrain." Abdul laughed softly. "Tell him these mountains don't appear on scanners. They live in the hearts of those who know them." The last alien units broke, fleeing in panic as their tactical computers crashed, unable to reconcile their sensor data with the reality of their defeat. They had come expecting to find primitive humans hiding in rocks. Instead, they had met warriors who had turned the mountains themselves into weapons. "Send word to all commands," Aisha ordered. "The Hindu Kush strategy works. The aliens cannot adapt to terrain warfare. Their technology blinds them to the old ways of fighting." She watched as her fighters began collecting abandoned alien equipment. They thought they could conquer the unconquerable. Now they learn what every empire before them discovered. These mountains belong to those who understand them, not those who try to dominate them with technology. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, Sergeant Isabella Santos moved like a ghost through the undergrowth. 2 decades with Brazilian special forces had taught her to become one with the jungle. Behind her, A mixed team of indigenous scouts and international special forces operators followed her lead, their movements silent despite the dense foliage. "They're trying to establish a forward base 2 kilometers ahead," whispered Paulo, a Yanomami hunter whose ancestors had lived in these forests for centuries. "Their machines can't see through the canopy, so they think they're hidden." Isabella smiled. The aliens had made a critical error in choosing the Amazon as their stronghold. They'd assumed the dense vegetation that blocked their sensors would also hamper human operations. They hadn't realized this was home. Through the trees, they caught glimpses of alien construction. The Zexathraxians had cleared a small area, their environmental suits struggling with the humidity and heat. Even their advanced technology couldn't fully protect them from the jungle's embrace. "Look," Paulo pointed to disturbed vegetation. "They're following the paths they cut with their machines. No variation, no adaptation." Isabella keyed her throat mic, vocalizing to avoid any sound. "All teams, confirm positions." One by one, 20 different units responded. They had spent days encircling the alien position, moving through paths that existed only in the memories of local guides. The attack began with a whisper. Indigenous hunters used blowguns to deliver toxins extracted from native plants, compounds too organic for alien sensors to detect. The first Zexathraxians fell before they realized they were under attack, their environmental suits pierced by darts moving too slowly to trigger their shield responses. When the aliens finally noticed something was wrong, they made their second mistake. They activated powerful lights to illuminate the jungle, destroying their own night vision, and creating sharp shadows that Brazilian commandos used as cover to move even closer. "Their sensors can't distinguish us from the wildlife," Isabella observed as another alien patrol walked past her position, meters away but blind to her presence. They never learned to truly see. The Zexathraxians began firing randomly into the jungle, their energy weapons starting fires that only created more confusion. Smoke filled their sensor arrays, while the human fighters used the chaos to close in. Years of fighting in the jungle had taught them to use every sense: the way the air moved, the sounds of disturbed animals, the smell of disturbed earth. An alien commander's voice crackled over their captured communications. "Impossible. There are life signs everywhere. We cannot isolate the human signatures from the forest itself." That was exactly the point. The teams had spent days introducing local wildlife to the area, creating a living smoke screen that overwhelmed alien biosensors. Now, as the net tightened, the Zexathraxians found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't separate from the jungle itself. Special Forces operators emerged from shadows to disable alien equipment with precisely placed charges. Indigenous warriors appeared soundlessly to neutralize isolated units with traditional weapons that bypassed shields calibrated for modern threats. Every rustle of leaves became a potential attack, every shadow a possible ambush. "They're breaking," Paulo announced, watching through sophisticated night vision gear that complemented rather than replaced his traditional skills. "The jungle has them scared." Isabella watched as alien units began abandoning their positions, their tactical doctrine shattered by warfare they couldn't quantify. They had expected a conventional fight against a technologically inferior force. Instead, they found themselves battling the jungle itself, facing warriors who had turned the entire rainforest into a weapon. "Command, this is Santos," she reported. "The Amazon gambit worked. They're pulling out. Their entire tactical system is compromised. They can't fight what they can't understand." Above the canopy, alien ships began emergency extractions, abandoning equipment and personnel in their haste to escape. They had learned another harsh lesson. On Earth, technology alone wasn't enough. The jungle belonged to those who understood its secrets, who could move like shadows and strike like spirits. The Amazon had claimed another victory, and the aliens had learned to fear the rustling of leaves. The skies above Fort Bragg erupted in chaos as the Zexathraxians launched their desperate final assault. Captain James Chen watched from the command center as alien ships descended through the clouds, their formation perfect, mechanical, predictable. "They still haven't learned," he muttered, watching the tactical display. "Still fighting by the numbers." Beside him, Master Sergeant Sarah O'Connor adjusted her powered exoskeleton, the fusion of human design, and captured alien tech humming softly. "Let's show them what adaptive warfare really means." The first wave of alien troops hit the outer perimeter, expecting a conventional defense. Instead, they met Army Rangers in hybrid combat suits, moving with a fluid grace their rigid tactical computers couldn't predict. The aliens' energy weapons found only empty air as soldiers combined enhanced mobility with hand-to-hand combat techniques perfected over centuries. "Charlie Company, execute Maneuver 7, Chen ordered. A squad of Marines in stripped-down exoskeletons burst from concealed positions. Their movements were pure poetry, traditional martial arts amplified by technology, but guided by human intuition. The alien shields, calibrated for high-energy weapons, couldn't adapt to the mix of enhanced strength and precise striking. "They're trying to compensate," O'Connor reported, watching the alien formation shift, recalibrating their shields for physical combat. Chen smiled. "Too late. Delta Team, you have a go." Special Forces operators emerged from stealth fields reverse-engineered from captured alien tech. But where the Zethraxians used stealth for simple concealment, humans had turned it into an art form. Operators appeared inside alien formations, their movements a deadly dance of CQC techniques and enhanced strength. The alien command channel erupted with confusion. "Impossible. They've merged our technology with primitive combat methods. The tactical computers cannot generate effective countermeasures." That was the key. Humanity hadn't just adopted alien technology. They'd adapted it, integrated it with fighting styles developed over thousands of years. Each soldier moved with both technological precision and human unpredictability, a combination the aliens couldn't counter. "SEAL Team 6, breach their center," Chen commanded. Navy SEALs launched from hidden positions, their hybrid armor allowing them to move faster than the alien sensors could track. They closed distance with impossible speed, entering the dead zones where shields were weakest. Ancient wrestling techniques met modern powered armor as they systematically dismantled the alien formation. "Sir," O'Connor pointed to new contacts appearing on the tactical display. "They're committing their reserves. Everything they have left in orbit is incoming." The sky darkened with alien ships. High Marshal Vex Thor's voice boomed across all frequencies. "You dare to corrupt our sacred technology with your barbaric combat techniques. You will learn the price of such sacrilege." Chen keyed his command channel. "All units, execute Operation Synthesis." Across the battlefield, human forces demonstrated what happened when you combined the best of both worlds. Army Rangers used enhanced strength to execute perfect judo throws. Marines combined powered jumps with traditional flying kicks. Special Forces operators appeared and disappeared like ghosts, each strike combining modern power with ancient precision. "Their tactical network is collapsing," O'Connor reported with grim satisfaction. "Their computers can't reconcile our movement patterns with any known combat doctrine." That was humanity's true advantage. Where the Zethraxians saw technology as a replacement for physical combat, humans had made it an extension of their warrior spirit. Every piece of stolen tech had been modified, adapted, integrated into fighting styles that went back generations. "Command, this is Chen," he reported as the alien forces began a chaotic retreat. "Strategy confirmed. They cannot adapt to our hybrid warfare techniques. Their entire combat doctrine is based on the assumption that advanced technology and physical combat are mutually exclusive." Above them, the massive alien ships began emergency jumps from orbit. They had come expecting to face either primitive warriors or technological equals. Instead, they had found something unprecedented, a species that could bridge both worlds, combining the best of ancient combat with the latest technology. The age of hybrid warfare had begun, and humanity was its master. High Marshal Vex Thor stood before the United Earth Defense Council, his environmental suit modified to display what his species considered formal surrender regalia. The chamber was silent as centuries of assumed superiority crumbled in the face of undeniable truth. For a millennium, he began, his translator conveying both words and the subtle tremor of humility in his voice. We believed technological advancement was the only measure of civilization. We engineered ourselves away from physical combat, thinking we had transcended our primitive origins. General Thompson, his combat exoskeleton now adorned with diplomatic insignia, leaned forward. And now we understand what we lost. Vex Thor gestured to the battle footage playing on the chamber screens. Your species didn't just defeat us. You showed us a path we never considered possible. The footage showed the defining moments of the war. Construction workers turning civilian equipment into weapons, mountain warriors using ancient paths to outmaneuver advanced sensors, jungle fighters becoming one with their environment, and soldiers combining martial arts with stolen technology. In our arrogance, Vex Thor continued, we thought physical combat was obsolete, but you proved that the warrior spirit can evolve without being abandoned. Each of your victories taught us something we had forgotten. Dr. Helen Martinez, who had first uncovered the aliens' biological modifications, pulled up her latest scans. Your younger generation is already showing signs of change. The fear response to physical combat is diminishing. Your bodies are beginning to adapt. Because they want to, Vex Thor said, with what approximated pride in his translator. Our youth watch videos of your fighters. They study your techniques. For the first time in 1,000 years, Zextraxian children are asking to learn hand-to-hand combat. The council chamber's doors opened, admitting a group of young Zextraxians. They wore modified environmental suits that allowed for greater physical movement, their traditionally frail frames already showing signs of enhanced muscle development. The first class of the Earth Combat Academy, Thompson announced. They volunteered to learn our ways of fighting, to bridge the gap between technology and tradition. One of the young aliens stepped forward, attempting a formal bow that showed both respect and newly developed physical control. We thought we had reached the peak of evolution. You showed us we had only explored one path. Vex Thor turned to address the council directly. We came to conquer Earth. Instead, we found teachers. The galaxy knows now. Humanity's strength lies not in technology alone, nor in pure physical prowess, but in your unique ability to combine both, to adapt, to innovate, to never lose your warrior spirit even as you advance. The screen showed new footage. Alien cadets learning basic martial arts, their movements still awkward but improving. Human instructors teaching them to rely on instinct as well as sensors. The beginning of a transformation that would reshape both species. The Zextraxian Empire formally proposes an alliance, Vex Thor declared. We offer our advanced technology, freely shared. In return, we ask you to teach us what we forgot. The art of true combat, the warrior's path that combines mind, body, and technology. General Thompson stood, extending his hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Vex Thor reached out and clasped it, his first willing physical contact with another being in his long life. Let it be recorded, Thompson announced, that on this day, we found not just peace, but understanding. The day the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our physical prowess. It's our ability to combine them both. Outside the council chamber, the sun set on a changed Earth. In dojos and training grounds across the planet, humans and aliens trained together, each learning from the other. The war was over, but a new chapter had begun. Humanity had taught the stars to fear their combat abilities. Now they would teach them to respect the warrior's path that had earned that fear.